Here we go with part 1, lesson 16 of Learn the Shot that Swings for Free. Now in the last session we talked about the driver, shaping the shot, aiming the shaft with a parallel thumb, all those safety mechanisms. But now we've hit the fairway. On a par 5 we get a chance to hit some fairway woods. So the principles are broadly the same, but there's a couple of little details I can give you to make it more helpful. And in terms of skill tariff, a 3-wood off the deck is probably a harder shot than a driver off a tee peg. So I'm going to hit a 3-wood off the deck towards this par 5 target. As I said earlier, we're on the 11th hole of the lovely Duke's course at Woburn. So out on the tee, it's always a good thing to stand behind the ball, get a sense of the ball target line, and when you approach the ball, my left foot will be opposite the ball at this point. Straight away, present the shaft, the club is sitting at its bottom, 90 degrees between the white tube and the silver shaft that I'm holding. Now I take my stance. Now you can have the 3-wood just a little bit back of the driver, an inch or so, and it won't do any harm. Okay, butt the club slightly over the ball. Key thing now is to keep centered, coil and release the hands freely. I'm looking to coil and hit a draw. So there we go. Basically the same principle, aiming the shaft, move the ball back just a little bit, an inch, inch and a half for the 3-wood. If you have a 5-wood in your bag, you can move another inch further still. But essentially, when you aim the club, you've got the shaft at right angle to the target line and only a tweak just over the ball. It's no more than that. In the past, we've regularly talked about the golf swing as being 50% shoulder turn, 25% forearm and 25% wrist. If you remember, with a short club like a wedge, you've got to find the most wrist hinge in the least amount of time, and that makes the forearms very quiet. However, with a wood, driver 3-wood and 5-wood, the shaft is long, and you can see the angle is very different. The wedge would be here, but the 3-wood, the angle is much greater. So essentially, you've got very little wrist hinge to find with the 3-wood. You've just got a little bit. So what happens is then, you've got to find the least wrist hinge in the most amount of time. So there is wrist hinge, but it's not particularly active. What the club maker is trying to do is trying to activate your forearm rotation. So really don't worry about wrist hinge when you're hitting fairway woods. Let the wrists take care of themselves. As long as you're not tense, as long as your muscles aren't tight, you'll find that your wrists will hinge quite freely. So I'm going to hit another 3-wood and just let you show that in action. Shaft at right angle, taking the grip. My primary thought now is to turn the shoulder and hit a draw. You've got less tolerance with a 3-wood. When you're coming into the ball with a driver, it's on a tee peg, you've got a tolerance of about 2–2.5 inches. When the ball's on the deck, it's a fraction of that. You've got a very small target to find. Now if you imagine a helicopter landing, it doesn't really matter if it's a yard out, it's the descent speed that's critical. But an aircraft comes to an aircraft carrier at speed, the descent angle is critical. A yard too low is disastrous. So when the 3-wood comes into the ball, it's coming on a very shallow angle, and therefore you've got to get your ball position to your swing path exactly right, and that's why it's important to get the shaft. If the shaft's a right angle, you've got a much better chance of getting your ball position sorted.